I tell people you're supposed to know your worth, but then increase your value. And what I mean by that is we have to understand there is always room for growth. We've normalized dysfunction too much. We've normalized this idea that we're gonna all have problems. Yeah, but we all have problems because we don't learn how to work through them. So it's important to understand what perceptions and beliefs actually get in people's way.
You look for someone else to make you feel better about your insecurities.
No, absolutely not. But let's talk about this whole knowing your worth. So we hear this term used all the time, and it's a very real, thing. Like you need to know your worth. So many people are struggling in life and relationships because they not only not know their worth, but they don't embrace their worth. And when you don't know it and you don't embrace it, you sell yourself short. You accept less than you deserve. You entertain people you should not entertain. Hell, you work at jobs you shouldn't be working at because you don't truly understand your worth. So I want you to know it. And I want you to understand that you deserve wonderful and amazing things. But we need to get into a less talked about aspect of knowing your worth. Now, let me warn you right now, this might trigger some of you, all right? And I'm saying everything going forward with true love and a desire to help you. So here's the thing. Know your worth and understand that right now, you may not be at your full potential. I tell people you're supposed to know your worth, but then increase your value. And what I mean by that is we have to understand there is always room for growth. There is always room for improvement. And the minute you start thinking that you're all that, with nothing that you need to improve about yourself, you shot yourself in the foot. You've created a very unhealthy dynamic where you are going to stop growing in life, where you're going to stop progressing because you think so highly of yourself that you're now blind to your flaws, or you're aware of your flaws, but you want people to accept them anyway. We always have, or you hear this mantra, love me, flaws and all. But some of your flaws are what's ruining your relationships. Some of your flaws are the exact thing that repels the kind of people you want to attract into your life. Some of those flaws are keeping you miserable, unhappy, and unhealthy. So we can't just have this mentality of take me, flaws and all. And so when we go back to this idea of knowing your worth, let me give you this analogy real quick. It's like if you ever went house hunting and you find this wonderful, amazing house, and you start to realize, or you see that the house at its true full value is worth $500,000. However, the house has broken doors, the kitchen needs repairing, the yard needs work. So in its current condition, it can only sell for $300,000. All right? This is how people are operating. You're a house that at your full potential is worth that $500,000. But because you overlook your flaws, you don't realize that your current value is only going to sell for $300,000. But you're expecting people to pay the full $500,000. That's not going to work that way. And this is why so many people don't find a buyer. Don't find anyone who is willing to invest in them, because it's not that you don't have the value, but you're not tapping into it. You're not doing what is necessary to reach that full potential and see your true full value. Not to mention, you're not even presenting the vision of your value. What do I mean by that? Going back to the house analogy, one of the best ways to sell a house is to stage it. Staging it means you put the furniture in there, you put the whole setup so people can see the vision of the potential this house has. Many of you are presenting a low quality version of yourself. You're not bringing out and letting people see the great true value of who you are. Your presentation is wrong. The energy that you're giving off, or the spirit you're giving off to the world, is beneath your true value. So again, if you want people to embrace your worth, You have to know it, but if you want people to embrace it, you've got to fully tap into it. And that means working on our issues. We cannot become so caught up in wanting to feel better about ourselves that we ignore what we need to correct within ourselves. We cannot lose track of the fact that there is work that needs to be done. And listen, there's nothing wrong with the idea that something is wrong within you. I think we become so sensitive when we hear anyone claim or point out a flaw or an issue within us. How dare they say something is wrong with you? How dare you say this person lacks this? But it's just the truth. It's reality. And how can I help you or anyone help you if we lie to you? If we make you think that you're so awesome. And again, at your full value, you are awesome. You're amazing when you tap into your true potential. But who you are at this moment is not that. Who you are at this moment is not the full value. You are operating in the $300,000 house range when you could be at the $500,000 house range. And that is all contingent on, are you willing to look at yourself in the mirror and say, okay, here's what needs to be corrected. Let me get to it. Whatever it is. And be willing to hear people out when they give us constructive criticism. That's one thing I've learned in life. I do not reject correction. I do not reject constructive criticism. I see it as an opportunity to self-reflect and to improve myself. No matter how great we think we are, we may be overlooking little things. Now, granted, it doesn't mean that you have to be perfect to get what God has for you. It does not mean you have to be perfect to get that great relationship or anything. But if you're not even working towards better, then how can you expect to receive better in your life? If you're not even trying to reach your full potential, then how can you demand and expect someone else come to the table with their full potential? If you live below your value, then expect to only receive people living below theirs. But you're not going to be happy with that. You're not going to want that in a relationship. Unless you decide to settle, and I'm never going to tell you to settle. I never want you to settle. I don't want you settling with who you are, and I don't want you settling with who you will allow yourself to be with. I want you to get the best out of you, the best that life has to offer, the best that God has for you. And that starts with not just knowing your worth, your true full worth, but increasing your value, tapping into your full potential, becoming your best you, and watch everything be what you've been waiting for it to be in your life. I hope you really receive this message. And again, if you are in any way triggered, pray about it. Take a step back, process this, but understand I gave this message to help you. I do not want to lie to you, and I don't want to just give you a bunch of nice words to make you feel good. I want you to hear the truth that will set you free and set you up for something amazing. Some things about you think you don't deserve that great person, that great relationship, because your perception of yourself is low. Now you're going to just latch on to whoever comes around who says, I want to be with you and willing to give you what you want at that moment. Yeah. And you're thinking, okay, this is safe. This will work. Let me go ahead and go with it. But you're never truly into them like that. It's never going to be the relationship it needs to be. All right. But that all stemmed from your lack of self-worth because you didn't heal from whatever traumatized you emotionally before.
So how do we heal first? What's that process look like?
So it's a long process, and I do plan on, I have a book I'm working on right now called Finding Love After Heartbreak, and it's going to lay out the entire process. But, so I'll give a little bit right now, and I'll save the rest for later.
Great.
So one thing is first we got to get the hurt out. And so I have this exercise I do at all my events called the Who Hurt Me list. And so you get a piece of paper,
it could be
write
like
down
100 people, like, oh, motherfucker.
It happens. Ask yourself the question, who hurt me? And now every person who comes to mind, write them on that paper. Doesn't matter if you think you moved past it. Doesn't matter if you think it's small and insignificant. If they came to mind when you asked yourself that question, put them on the paper.
Anyone in your life.
Anyone
from a
in
childhood
your life.
friend to your parents to a lover.
Anyone. Yeah. Anyone, anything. If they come to mind, put them on that list. Because that's how we start to recognize the pain points in your life. Now we see, okay, this is where it's coming from. A lot of people have suppressed what has happened to them. And so you can't address and resolve something that you're not willing to accept exists in your life. And the reality is that just because it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it's still lingering within you. And it's causing a lot of problems. And it causes a lot of emotional stress, which then turns into physical ailments. And it just snowballs from there.
Tension, anxiety,
All of
fear,
that.
all
Yeah,
these things.
depression.
Yeah.
All right. A lot of these things that we go through in mental health stems from things that we have not resolved from our past. All right. And it's just all contributing to the issues that we're experiencing in the now.
Right.
And some of us, we may not be experiencing the issues right now, but we will. It's coming. It's just festering in you, and it's going to come out at some point.
Yeah. So write a list and think about those moments and reflect on them, or what's...
Well, no. So at that point, once you get the list, now we can see the first person. And I won't go too much further, but let's just say you're going to have to go through a process of getting things off your chest. We have not released these things from our spirit, from our system, and we need to essentially emotionally detox. And to do that, you've got to get it out. So whether you speak into a recorder, write a letter, something, and like I said,
scream into a pillow, anything, right?
Yeah, but I do want like a full release. Again, we don't fully release.
Would you release each person or just everyone at one time?
So I would say this: you want to start with, let's say, your top 3. Now, I've had clients where they did their top 3, and that kind of, once they got through those, they were able to process everyone differently to where it wasn't necessary to do everyone else. All right. Now, if you have 10 significant experiences and 10 significant different people that need to be addressed, yes, you may have to release with 10 different people. So it depends on the person. And that's why something like this requires a more in-depth process. We got to talk about things. We got to understand what about it did you internalize, how you're seeing it, because some of it is changing your mindset, changing your perception of what happened, understanding that it wasn't about you. Like we said earlier, hurt people hurt people. And so once you understand that, and understand how they behave and why they behave the way they do, it changes how you look at things and how you internalize those situations. So there's so much more we got to get into, but just getting at least that list started
is a good step.
Yes, because now you at least get to see, okay, here's where it is. Here's what needs to be addressed. Now let me get help to address these things and start the process of healing so that I'm not ending up in more bad situations or bad relationships.
Repeating the process.
Exactly.
Let's say you've dealt with the hurt and it takes the time that it takes you and you've gone through all that. How do you manifest and attract a partner that you want to be with that has those 3 keys, the connection, the attraction, and the balance, that you feel like is the one, could be one of the ones? How do you set yourself up to attract that incredible partner?
So one, you got to be yourself. So finding yourself is number 1. All right. You can't connect with someone if they're connecting with the fake you. All right. Yeah. That's a false connection. So you have to discover who you are, become confident in that, stand strong in it. Now, who is drawn to that person, you know it's real. All right. And so that's where we begin. 2, you need to exude positive energy. All right. To me, and this is, I think this is very important for women, all right? Because the reality is that it's men, or the type of men that a lot of women want, aren't going to be drawn to a negative woman.
No.
There's millions of good women, but that doesn't mean they're positive women, all right? And it's that lack of positive energy that holds them back more than they realize.
Really?
Yes. And
just like even just saying negative things throughout the day. They might be a good person, but if they're always complaining or negative.
Exactly. And not even just what they say. Again, it's how they're coming off. Because
facial energy, their body language.
Yes. It's like, so look at it like this. I tell people all the time, it's not what you say, it's how you make them feel. All right? So you can say all the wonderful things you want, but if in your presence they don't feel at ease, they don't feel peace, they don't feel that positivity, that's still going to throw everything off.
If you say nice things, but you have a frown,
exactly.
It's like, what's the point?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Exactly. And what a lot of women aren't realizing is that their energy is off because they have walls up. They're so scared. They're so fixated on protecting themselves.
Because they've been hurt in the past.
Exactly. Haven't healed from those things. But I tell people all the time, the same walls you have up to protect you are the same walls blocking your blessings. All right? So you don't realize you're restricting your ability to love and be loved because you're walking in fear. All right? You can't walk in fear and expect all these wonderful things to happen. It doesn't work that way. Even in business,
The ones who succeed are the ones who put the fear aside and say, I'm going to have faith and push forward no matter what, no matter how it looks in front of me, no matter how many people tell me you're doing the wrong thing, get a regular job, whatever. No, you believe what you need to do and you push forward past that fear. It's the same thing with relationships. You have to push forward in faith, not fear, if you want to receive that great relationship. And so, yes, this can happen with men as well. I don't want men thinking they can carry around a bunch of negative energy and they're going to get a great relationship. But I do think it shoots women in the foot more, because here's the other thing that people don't talk about a lot. And some people may not like this, but I'm just going to keep it real.
Yeah, for sure.
It pulls women away from their feminine energy. And
when they're not positive.
When they're not positive. And when they're holding on to these fears and have these walls up. And it's the feminine energy that makes the woman so powerful. That's the tool that is at her disposal that can make the world her oyster, all right? But women have become very detached from their femininity. And the thing is this, a lot of women will say they're not feminine. They're just not that way. I dispute that in most situations. No, you become detached from it. You become uncomfortable with it due to, again, a lack of healing and due to experiences in your life. Now, if you are more masculine, so to speak, and you are happy that way, then by all means, continue to live your life as you are. But if you're not seeing things work for the way that you want them to, and you're in that energy, that more masculine energy, or more further away from your feminine, then consider making a switch. Consider at least trying it.
Yeah.
See the difference. And what I find with a lot of women is that not only is it beneficial to them as far as relationships-wise, it's beneficial in the quality of their life.
For their health.
Their health, their peace, their work, you name it. I have a client, she's a doctor at a big hospital. And when she came to me, she was frustrated with relationships, ready to give up on men. Nobody liked her at work. She was just a hard, tough manager. So we worked on her energy. We worked on healing. We got her energy. We got her to embrace more feminine energy. She will swear by it right now. In 1 month, her whole hospital started to love her.
Wow.
Now they're all helpful, whether they were women or men. Men started coming out the woodworks, all right?
Hey, let me get your number, girl. Let me get at you, girl. Yeah.
She ended up meeting her soon-to-be fiance on an airplane 2 months after we started doing the coaching. So
what were the shifts that she made every single day? Like, what was the things that she said, okay, I'm going to not be this way, I'm going to start trying this?
it was one, being more conscious of your energy. I think number one, we have to be mindful of the energy we're giving off. We become so distracted by our issues that we're facing in the world, by our responsibilities. We're not always in tune with what we're giving off. So to give an example, and this is just a small one, even for me as a man, I work out a lot. When I come out the gym, I started to notice I'm very tense. My face is, hard. Exactly. So I've learned to, when I walk out the gym, take a deep breath, relax the body, relax the muscles, and the energy completely changes. All right? Because yes, you can become very intimidating as a man, just like you can become very intimidating as a woman. And so you have to be mindful of, are you making yourself more approachable? Are you allowing people to feel more comfortable being around you? And so that starts with being mindful of it, being conscious of it. And one great way to do that is get an accountability partner. All right?
Absolutely.
Tell someone who has the ability to be positive, because you don't want to pick a negative person to be your accountability partner. It's going to throw everything off. But you pick a positive person and you say, hey, listen, whenever I'm being negative, whenever I'm giving that bad energy, let me know. Because now when they tell you, you won't always realize when you're doing it, at least not at first. But once they start calling you out, now you become more mindful of it. Now you can take hold of it and control it, and now you master what energy you're giving off at certain times. And that changes everything.
Wow. When someone feels like they found the one, and I've heard this a lot, like, I know this is the one, or I thought they were the one, and then it didn't end up working out. And they want to get married. They've decided marriage is for them. They want to be life partners. What are a few of the conversations that they should have to not know for certain, but know for better certain that this is the right decision, this partnership is the right decision to move forward in a long-term committed relationship?
Okay.
As opposed to just maybe the infatuation behind it, or the initial connection, or the attraction. What are a few questions they should be asking each other that maybe they haven't asked yet, to know whether or not they're setting themselves up for that successful long-term relationship?
Okay. Number one, how do you envision your role in a marriage? all right? People don't go in finding out what the expectations are before they get married. They have this assumption that we're just gonna transition from how we are in a relationship to being that way in the marriage. No. Because a lot of times things change and the level of expectation raises now in marriage. You also have some people who may think, for example, you may have a man out there who thinks, okay, my job is to court you when we're boyfriend and girlfriend.
When we're married.
When we're married, I don't gotta do all that work anymore. Now I'm your husband, I've given you the ring, satisfy me, make me happy. You gotta find that out. Because you're setting yourself up for failure if you don't realize he thinks he gets to take time off now that he's married you. Or he may think, as long as I'm paying these bills, don't ask me for anything else. You got to find out. So we need to ask, what do you
She should be asking that.
Yeah, both of them should be asking. How do you perceive your role in marriage? What are your expectations from me in marriage? Let's find out what we need, what we're expecting from each other. Number two, making sure our values are aligned. All right. So whether that be spiritual, whether that be even financial values, whatever those things are, let's make sure we're on the same page about it. And if we're not on the same page, are these things we can balance out and work out? All right. So for example, let's look at it from a financial perspective. If I'm a very frugal man,
yes,
and this woman is a spender,
I have friends in this situation and it's not good.
Exactly. And I'm sure they didn't talk about it in advance. You want to talk about these things and say, okay, how do we view this? What are your expectations as a spender? Are you someone who thinks, well, I got to be able to spend some free money every month. I got to go shopping every month. What is it? Let's come to an agreement beforehand that we're both comfortable with. But let's understand what we're walking into here. All right? Yeah. Again, we don't talk about these things. We just assume, oh, because she's not asking for money now, she won't ask for money later. And that's not necessarily true.
Right.
Let's find out. What are we expecting? Do our values align in marriage? I definitely think number three, sexual expectations. I think that needs to be discussed and understood. And again, it's all about compromise if a compromise can be found. So it's not saying, okay, well, I expected 4 times a week.
Right.
You know, he or she says 2 times a week, and now we're just going at it. No, well, then maybe we go with 3 times a week. But we make sure the compromise is something that we can both be happy with. When you compromise on something that you're not going to be happy about, you're not compromising, you're sacrificing. And those sacrifices can be good in some instances, not when it's very important to you or it's going to be important enough that it would cause you to wander if you're not getting it. Never sacrifice something that's going to make you want to look at someone else in your marriage. All right? So if you need 3 times a week to be happy and satisfied, make that very clear. Don't agree to 2. And then wander. Exactly. And now you're entertaining other people because you never set that expectation. Another expectation, as we talked about earlier with attraction, is how we keep ourselves up physically. I do think
so
that needs to be discussed. What if I just gained
60 pounds in 7 years, and is that okay since we're married now?
Listen, people need to be honest. So, like I tell some men, if you can say, you know what, if my wife gained 60 pounds, I don't care, I'm cool with it, and you're going to love her with the same energy and desire that you did 60 other pounds ago, great. But if you can't make
here today is because a lot of times before you can even lose weight or get in shape or whatever, you're normally dealing with a lot of mental problems, a lot of mental health issues. And so, not mental health like you're crazy or anything like that, but there's a lot of things that you can go through in your life that will trigger, weight gain, weight loss, or whatever issues that you're going through with your life. And so I wanted to bring him here today to kind of touch on some topics about mental health so that you can kind of get those things out of the way before you start on along in your fitness journey. So I got a couple questions here. He doesn't know what I'm about to say to him. So we're going to interview him here and I'm going to see what he comes with. And so I'm going to try to not edit this as much as possible. Okay, so y'all hang with me. All right, so the first thing is, how does a person deal with insecurities, you think? How would somebody go about dealing with the insecurities?
It depends on where the insecurities came from or where they started. So if it's a matter of you question how you look, maybe because I had a client once where, believe it or not, the father would tell her she's ugly. You know what I'm saying? So now her issue with accepting being beautiful came from her father. And so to deal with that, we got to get to the root of that issue. We got to address that relationship, the impact it had on that person. So whatever has triggered the insecurity is where you have to look at, because everything after that is just being piled on. It's just adding up because of what you held on to and you never healed from to begin with. But once we heal from that initial thing, now everything else can be taken care of.
And what's the process of trying to heal from that particular instance?
I mean, with each individual, you got to go deeper into it, and some things may vary, but for the most part, it's going to require, getting some things off your chest. It's going to require forgiving. It's going to require changing your mindset or practicing a new mindset. You're going to have to reprogram yourself. If you've been programmed to believe you're ugly, you're this, you're not good enough for that, well, now you have to tell yourself the opposite. And you have to remind yourself daily, weekly, constantly, so that you can now embrace that new mindset and get rid of that old one.
Makes sense. Okay. All right. So I got another follow-up question to that one. Should you look for someone else to make you feel better about your insecurities?
No, absolutely not. You shouldn't look to someone else. Now, don't get me wrong. We feed off of compliments and how other people perceive us at times. And that's nothing wrong with that, so to speak. But you don't want to rely on that. You don't want to become dependent on what other people think, because now you could get 10 compliments in a row and you're feeling great, and you get that one person who says you don't look good or who rejects you, and now you internalize that. And now you're back to this negative mindset. So first and foremost, you got to make yourself believe all these things. You have to rely on yourself to feel better and to have a better perception of who you are. Don't look to other people, but compliments will always feel good to most people, if not all.
That makes sense. And I asked that because a lot of times the insecurities come from somebody giving them to you, so would we be looking for that person to save us from our insecurities before we move on, or is it something that you got to conquer internally first? That's why I asked you that. So, all right, the next question is, should you conquer your insecurities first before getting into a relationship?
That would be ideal. I mean, let's be real. I have to say, the vast majority of people are not conquering their insecurities before they get into a relationship. They're trying to brush things under the rug and hope to just move past it, or they're feeding off this other person, showing that they desire them and that they want them, and they're letting that get them through, so to speak. But it would be best, because again, if you carry insecurities into that relationship, now even when that person doesn't do anything wrong, as in your partner, if they unknowingly do something that triggers that insecurity, now we're back to square one. Now we're having this whole blow up, all because of something that has nothing to do with them. It started from the past. So you don't want to let that linger. And a lot of times, if you hold on to insecurities, you're going to end up with the wrong person, because we start embracing the wrong person into our lives based off our self-worth, based off what we think exists out there. If you think there's no good guys or no good women, well, you're going to settle for a bad one.
Right, makes sense.
So it's important that you fix that before you go entertaining anybody in a relationship.
Do you think you can see weight gain or loss as an insecurity, or somebody's size, like their physical size or their appearance? Would you consider that an insecurity?
I mean, the insecurity starts with how you perceive yourself, but it can be an extension of insecurity. And some people, I've had clients where they were molested, and now they will tell you they purposely gained weight, and they purposely kept weight on because they felt it made them less desirable, and therefore made them less susceptible to being harmed and being molested again.
Right.
So it stems from a deeper issue. So ultimately, the how we look and how we present ourselves can stem from insecurities, and how we carry ourselves. Because again, sometimes you can be beautiful, but if you lack confidence, you don't look as good.
Right.
Your energy's off. So that's where the insecurity carries over into your presentation.
Makes sense. Okay. I guess the last question is, have you ever struggled with insecurities? And if you have, so how did you overcome them?
I mean, I have. I think we all have. I don't know if there's anybody on the face of this earth that's never been insecure. If you say that, I think you're probably lying.
Right.
All right. And so for me, as far as dealing with insecurities, it's working on my flaws. If I don't like the way my body looks, I'm gonna hit the gym harder. I'm gonna change my diet. I'm gonna find ways that I can get it better. Not that it needs to be perfect, but get it to a place where I'm feeling good about it. Right. That I'm not feeling so down or feel like it's working against me anymore. So to me, that's the way I always do it. And that's the way I would challenge other people is, if you're feeling insecure about something, don't wait for someone to just magically compliment you or people to accept you as you are, so to speak. Yes, there's a level of that plays into it, but be willing to work on those things.
Right.
If it's stuff like your body, your knowledge of stuff, things that you can change and you can make better and improve with just putting certain things into practice, then do that, because we should all strive to be the greatest version of ourselves anyway.
That's true.
The number 6 limiting belief keeping you from meeting the right man, and I say this with love, but please don't be triggered, just hear me out, is the mentality of he needs to take me as I am. So hear me out. It's not that I don't want you to settle, it's not that I want you to settle for someone who doesn't love you for who you are, because he should love you for who you are. But the idea of take me as I am, as I stand right now, can be very problematic, because as you stand right now, you may have some issues. All right? And that's not to insult you. That's just a reality. Now, I know some of you may say, well, we all have issues. Some people have worked through their issues. Some people have resolved their issues. And some issues aren't as detrimental to the success of a relationship as others. If you have issues or flaws that directly impact your ability to communicate with people, your ability to create harmony and peace in a relationship, your ability to embrace what a man needs, and so on and so forth, that blocks you from being able to bring forth that spirit, that energy that's necessary to not just have success in a relationship, but for you to have a better quality of life, then we can't just say, take me as I am. Imagine if a man is emotionally damaged, financially unstable, okay, and just a complete mess. And he says, well, she should take me as I am. Are you, what? Like, no, you can't think like that. It should be, yes, he should, you got to switch that mentality to, he should love me for me. And from there, you've got to make sure you know who you are, okay? And you've got to work on being the best version of you. So I don't want you becoming someone you are not, okay? All these things I tell you guys to do, all these tips I give you and advice, it's to elevate, to enhance. It's not to necessarily change. Now, some of it may feel like I'm trying to change you, but in my eyes, I'm trying to bring out your real self. And I'll give you one example, the feminine energy piece. There's a lot of women who will say to me, well, I'm just not feminine. You're asking me to be something that I'm not. My counter argument is, no, you are feminine. You're just detached from it. You are conditioned to your masculine energy, so you're not as comfortable with it anymore. I'm trying to bring it back to the surface and teach you how to get comfortable with it, so that now you will see how happy you are in this place and how it was really who you are. It's almost like someone working at a job for 20, 15 years, 10 years, whatever, and they say, well, no, I'm a nurse. I've always been a nurse. It's like, no. Deep inside, you're an artist. You've always actually been an artist, but you've been detached from your artistry because you thought it couldn't get you anywhere. You thought this isn't a career choice, so I'm going to go be a nurse. But no, you're really an artist, and I'm just showing you how to bring that out. So remove the take me as I am mentality. Remove the he has to accept all my flaws. Listen, you have to work on your flaws. You have to become a better you. But yes, he has to embrace and love who you truly are at your core. So now we're at number 7, and then we got a quick bonus. The number 7 limiting belief keeping you from being the right man is the belief that God will bring you a man. Now listen, y'all know I'm a man of God, and I know God can do amazing things. And I am in no way saying that God is not going to work in your life in a way that allows you to cross paths with the man who's for you. What I am saying is many women use the belief that God will bring them as a man as a scapegoat. All right? And so because, well, God will make it happen. God will bring them to me. I don't have to work on becoming my better self. I don't have to heal from my past. I don't have to learn how to date better. I don't have to be mindful of my limiting beliefs and how I'm thinking. You know, all these different things because, well, God will take care of it. No, that's the problem. As they say, faith without works is dead. Yes, believe God can guide you to your blessings, but embrace the work you have to do along the path. Embrace the process you have to undergo. So take it further than just God will bring me a man. Take it to what do I need to do to receive the man God has for me? What is my role in this? All right. And when we take more initiative in that process, and that's in any aspect of life. So it could be in your career, your purpose, whatever it is. Ask, what am I supposed to do? What do I need to embrace? And then work on that. And in doing your part, you will receive what is truly for you. All right, so one quick bonus. I mentioned it earlier. Another, you could say, limiting belief that is at least getting in the way of some women, because it doesn't apply to all, is the idea that online dating is pointless. All right? And I'm just going to say this, because I'm going to do a whole different video on focusing on online dating. I've had clients who've met their husband through online dating. Online dating is simply a tool to use to meet more people conveniently. Now listen, some of y'all, it may not be time for online dating. Some of y'all may never need to go on there. But consider it. Pray about it. Be open to it. A lot of people who don't see success is because they don't do it the right way. They don't take a real full-hearted approach when they do it. They're kind of 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out the door, and that leads to these subpar results. Again, yeah, people will say, well, there's crazy people online. There's crazy people in real life. It ain't no different, all right? It's the same people either way. It's just an easier way to meet more people, to make it more accommodating, especially if you're someone who's not getting out or doesn't feel like you can get out, or as I mentioned earlier, don't feel like the type of options you desire aren't in your area. So be open to it, consider it, and again, understand, when you start to put your mind and thoughts in the right place, you can start to create a much better, more positive, happier reality that will bring you the things that you truly.
Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. You're a beautiful woman, but are you letting that beauty shine through you? Are you allowing people to feel your true essence? Make no mistake that is a very important thing, and that